phone. Of course it is. No, I've got it now. I've got it now. It was just on my on the homepage. That was all. Sarah Lecky's birthday. Bring the noise, Richard Granham. Carlos Ward. Good day to you, Carlos. Michael Powell, Fast as Funk, William Patrick. Thank you to Bulldog Mike for the update this morning, by the way. Apparently the base was affected by there were weather issues yesterday, so it was a reduced operations yesterday, which hopefully means that we're going to see slightly busier today, finishing around about 4 p.m. Crews ready to receive their aircraft for the final pre-flight checks. Oh man, goosebumps. I just got massive goosebumps then. Just looking at that heat haze, that whole shot is just... Not sure yet whether they're going to be operating from or on 06 or 25 today. Hopefully they'll be operating from this end, but Stephen Forward tuning in from Eastleigh, Michael Powell, Bill Orwad, Raymond Dixon, good morning to you, Alexandra Wood. Good morning from VA. Is that Anne Campbell? Is VA Victoria or Virginia? Adam Gallagher tuning in from Brisbane, Australia. LTN Aviation, is that Luton Aviation possibly? He signed up yesterday to become a member. Well, Luton Aviation, a very warm welcome to you and thank you for your for joining Big Jet TV. Enjoy your time Ben Brown, good morning. Michael Powell, Rene Jensen. Carl's got COVID, is he? Oh dear. Oh my good God. Oh my goodness me, Carl. Cheer me up. I'm on 14 days quarantine in my hotel room in Budapest with the dread. Oh my goodness me. He's completed Netflix. He's done Netflix, hasn't he? Well, sit back, Carl. And I don't know how good the TV is in your hotel room. Well, actually, no, it's probably not a smart TV, so he's probably just on his headset, possibly, with his phone. Just make sure you've got enough charge on it, mate. Very sorry to hear about that, Carl. And no doubt Carl is probably not feeling any symptoms at all, or very mild symptoms, but when you get it, you get it. Okay, here comes to Bowser. Here they come. Here we go. Oh, no, they are going 0-6. There we go. Now that's interesting. So why are these guys... Okay, they are going 0-6. I tell you what I think it might be. They might be just checking his air brake. Because the that's a shame. So they're going to be coming out towards us, folks. Racking, maybe for ordnance. It's quite a long taxi, isn't it? So these extinguishers out on that pan. So we'll just have to see what plays out. Definitely. Are they perhaps just ready in case the wind does change? That they're going to be available at both ends. I doubt it. Anyway, so car walk, very mild so far, just ridiculous levels of, oh my God, that is crazy. 14 days in a bleeding hotel, oh my God, mate, I feel for you. Jeffrey Primer, so it looks like munitions carts, yeah. Kind of looked like they were sort of racking for possibly air-to-air or something like that. Inspon's got his 4 stripes, Spitfire RAF 100, good morning to you, Dick Dastardly. Yes, that's this is a story that I've just heard come out, was that there was a lot of people would have seen last week. There was a picture that somebody took. One of the photographers here um, at Lakenheath took a picture of one of the F-15s going out with what appeared to be. Oh, it was Mike who sent it to me actually. Obviously, it was circulating, but the one of the engines is obviously. One of the rings possibly had gone pop or something like that. Not sure what exactly. Oh no, he did say. Apparently, it was one of the actuators on the of the exhaust nozzles, which you see squeeze when they apply maximum thrust for reheat. This the engines, the exhaust petals, as they're sometimes described, squeeze together to minimise, to maximise, sorry, the amount of the squeezing of the air, which then goes through to reheat. But apparently one of those actuators had actually failed. That was a result of obviously maintenance or just a faulty part or whatever it might be. But the interesting thing was that the photographer then called the base. The base were unaware, as was the pilot. So he was recalled back to base, and as a result of that, Dick Dastardly very nicely saying here, nice gesture yesterday from the F-15 pilot that we're talking about here. He came down to the spotting area here where I am now and handed the photographer, obviously said thank you very much, and handed him some badges and caps and stuff like that. John Grinham, good morning to you. So, for anybody who are perhaps not as knowledgeable as other people, obviously when I first came here, I was unaware of exactly what goes on here. This is RAF Lakenheath. It's a US Air Force base. Has been. It's the MOD. It's MOD land, but it's run by the US Air Force. 48th Fighter Wing are based here. Part of the US 3rd Air Force, and these guys here operate the F-15 Strike Eagles and Eagles, the C and D and the E variant, which are noticeable by the canopy, by the colour, and also a couple of other things that sort of like you can distinguish between the different variants of the aircraft. It's actually given the name the Statue of Liberty Wing. It's, to be honest with you, it's not so much the Statue of Liberty Wing. It's actually called the Liberty Wing. It was given the name on the in 1954 and remains the only US Air Force unit with both a name and a numerical designation. There you go. So these guys operating out of Lakenheath on a daily basis. The folks at RAF Mildenhall, which is literally adjacent to us here, we probably will see one or two, maybe a Hercules or a KC-135 Strato tanker going out to refuel these guys. Sometimes they will go out, they won't refuel, they just do their mission and then come back. It could be a number of different operations over the North Sea, just off the east coast, in designated areas where they can go and conduct dummy dogfights and also bombing runs as well. I think these guys, if I'm right in saying, I think these guys also use There's a few bombing ranges. They may also, I don't know if they do, I don't think, maybe they do the Mac loop, I'm not sure. I don't know if also the RAF have been had their, because the RAF were booted out of, I believe, booted out of the Mac loop. I think it was last year. Whether they're back there or not, I don't know. So you will see also on the tail, the top of the tails, if we get a closer look at them later, you'll see the engagements and the decorations. But these guys have fought. It's a shutdown. So now I can see. Stand by. See a tail. Ready, because these guys will. There we go. So now this guy, I think he's been through his final checks. Look at him go, man. Here we go, first one, Jilly. So I didn't see whether there was anything hanging off their wings. I mean, you will see drop tanks. There's a 135 going out of Mildenhall right now. That's a tanker, folks. I was very fortunate to be invited by the good folks down at RAF Mildenhall for the change of command on Monday. I went to the ceremony there, put a little piece together which we're hoping to play out a little bit later on. It's only 3 minutes 35 seconds long, but I was very fortunate to be able to look inside KC 135 to see how the aircraft operates internally. Unbelievably, the aircraft is a very, even though it looks very sturdy, powered by the CFM engine, much the same engine as you find on a 737 or even a 319, but obviously a military variant. But I believe slightly underpowered, purely because of the because of the structure of the wing and the age of the aircraft and the airframe is that they had to reduce the amount of power on the engines so as to reduce the stresses on the pylons and the wings. These things literally pulling themselves off the wing. Crazy. But and crazy to think they look a lot bigger than the engines that you see on the small single aisle jets like the 737. It's another shutdown. Is he shut? Is he still running them there? No, he's still running them there. Okay, we'll just have to see what happens. Combat V device. Let's have a little look at that and see what that is then. The Combat V device. Let's have a little look. So it's actually a decoration awarded by the United States Armed Forces. Distinguishes an award for heroism or valor in combat instead of for meritorious service or achievement. Okay. So, drop tanks. He's got a missile. Now, blue band, I think, and I learnt this from our viewers. Blue band designated on the is that it's a dummy, and red is alive. I think a live munition, laser guided missiles. I think by the looks of it, he's only sporting one on there at the moment, but we'll have to see. Twin-engined all-weather tactical fighter, the F-15 designated as. Top speed 3,000, just topping 3,000 kilometers an hour, 4,815 kilometer range. Obviously that's without the tanks, the over tanks, I think. She's 19 meters long, powered by two Pratt & Whitney F100 engines, and boy oh boy do they sound good, delivering I think it's somewhere in the region of an additional what's the reheat additional punch that it gives on reheat? I think it's another, let's just have a look, see if we can see. So different variants used for different combat scenarios, bombing, and also air-to-air combat as well. And you'll notice that some of them will have twin seats for the armaments guy who will be sitting in the back seat. And you'll see some of the array of different lumps and bumps on the aircraft, which are early warning systems. There's one on the back which would be an early warning system to notify the pilot if he's been locked onto. Laser guided units on the aircraft as well, which will guide the bombs. So in terms of the models, I think that might be a Sparrow or something like that. The AIM missile. So there's a good chance that that KC-135 that just went out of Mildenhall will be going to fuel up these guys. But remember that Mildenhall also cover more or less the whole of Europe and Africa as well, in terms of their distance. Very interesting when I went on board the aircraft to note that the tanks themselves, some of the tanks, not all of them obviously, forward and aft tanks are beneath, they're inside what you would normally see as the belly freight area, the lower deck underneath if you can imagine a passenger aircraft, and we've seen when they're loading the ULDs into the lower deck cargo area where the baggage goes and so on and so forth. Well, this is based on the older 707 airframe, or 720 to be precise, but the tanks are scattered throughout the belly of the aircraft, but also in the wing of the aircraft. And it does always still amazes me that when you look at the range of this aircraft, its capability, the amount of fuel that it can store, which is why they also have those drop tanks. So we're waiting at the moment. So the 15A is the single-seat all-weather air superiority fighter. The 15B is a two-seat training version. Not sure if they've got any Bs here, but they've definitely got the Cs, improved single-seat all-weather superior fighter version, and the D, two-seat training version as well, and the Es, which are, let's just have a look down here. Wow, so many different types. Wow. I think the E is actually the Strike Eagle. Keep calling out RAF Beach 350 over Attleborough at 16,000 feet. Okay, that beach aircraft, as in like is he possibly master of ceremonies, as they used to call them, back in the war, when the boys were out in their bombing missions, you know, especially the RAF, that's for sure. During the night missions, sometimes the the base commander would fly above the target area, guiding his bombers in to make sure that they. And he was sometimes called the master of ceremonies, but in order to minimise the amount of creep back, as they used to call it, where if one bomber dropped its bombs a little bit too early, sometimes the other bombers behind him would follow him, and therefore you just get what's called creep back, where the target area would become more and more expanded, and end up minimising it. You get a lot of bombs hitting the fields and so on and so forth around the target area. Sandy Humby, thank you very much indeed. Nevadita, of course, we talked about, and she flew her last, I nearly said mission yesterday, but I guess it was really her final flight yesterday, and I've wished her a very happy retirement, but it is only retirement from commercial passenger jet flying. She's going to continue on with her her work in sustainable aviation fuels, which is a great thing. So many different aircraft manufacturers and airlines. I wonder if those guys are they just waiting? I guess have they been released from their ground crews? Phil Tovey, good morning to you. Gordon Chesterman, Speedway Chips, Janine Kelly, Max Thompson, good morning to you. Harry Butler, blimey, there's another one on under house arrest. Max Thompson, 10-day amber listed enforced house arrest. It's crazy, man. Mick Daubney, good question that, and a good point to note as well. Yes, these guys with the F-15s do tend to use their reheat or afterburners, whichever way you want to describe it. Almost every departure that they have here. You will see sometimes when they're not, when they don't have drop tanks on them, because obviously the afterburner uses a significant amount of fuel. Just even if it is for that 30 seconds or so, it will use a substantial amount of fuel and could potentially empty out, a drop tank just for the takeoff. Which is sometimes when you see these particular aircraft with no drop tanks, they won't use the afterburner. But it is quite a rare sight to see the guys up at Coningsby using afterburner, and it's more likely when they're doing an unrestricted takeoff, which is unrestricted as in unrestricted power. You might see that from time to time with the guys up at Coningsby, at RAF Coningsby, with the Typhoons, the Eurofighter Typhoons, which we're going to planning to do something very soon up there. So keep watching, folks, because it might come up quite quickly. Jamie Sugg just arrived at the Heath, and I can spot a real life Jerry, the lesser spotted Jerry. So Jamie Sugg, wherever you are, a very warm welcome to you, my friend. Babs Price, good morning. Also commending us on the Captain Nivedita Bassin. She's a wonderful woman and a true inspiration to all. Yeah, Bulldog mentioning about Bryce having some runway issues. I did actually notice Monday, when I was at, here we go, at Mildenhall. They were doing runway work, and in fact at that point when I was up there, I saw a C-17 coming out of well, there's 4 of them. Okay, and there's a Hercules going out of Mildenhall right now. So quite what that will be for, I don't know. Maybe just... here we go. Beautiful sounds of an F100 engine accompanied by Halford's car alarm. Don't you love it? It's a shame, isn't it? What a shame. Walked off down the bank as well, so they don't even know it's going on. Yeah. San Sharma's TV speakers are blown. Yeah, that was neat. That was neat. Still hear them. So now some of you guys, I know that some of you folks are able to keep an eye on the on what's happening on your radar apps, ADSB or whatever it might be, to see where they're heading out to. Whiff of Jet A1 there. Okay. Yeah, Bulldog, unrestricted he's talking about there. Imagine going over in full burner and going straight up. Oh, yes. Who knows? Who knows? Might get one this afternoon, I don't know. But I think it's just Fridays that they do unrestricteds here, if at all, at the moment. Oh, blimey. Carl Mason, I think you'll find that Jilly is. Ben Brown, do you know the spec of the car alarm? I don't think they have specific call notes, do they? Alarm notes. That's a Mark III Bynatech from Germany. I think it's solvable by a large sledgehammer from Wix. 3 F-15Cs and 1 D, obviously. Andrews, thank you for that. John King. There's 4 bogies. I repeat, 4 bogies. Well, blow your nose then. Tony McCall sounds like he's commentating on the snooker. Looks like this could be a match-winning shot here. Looks like he's going for the. Just needs this. Just this yellow, and he'll be 100 points in the lead. David Edwards loving the sound. Johan Heino, good morning to you, Johan. Mighty 52, sound is good. Alison Billett, sound is quiet, blimey. Maybe you want to turn your volume up a little bit there, Alison. Yeah, I'll well, probably. Let me just see if I can get because obviously, you know, when I went up to the ceremony, the change of command happens every 2 years. I'm led to believe at Mildenhall anyway. Base commander switching places. Both commanders having very distinguished careers already in the US Air Force. So it was eye-opening, but what was more exciting for me was to be able to go on board one of the KC-135s. The cockpit, folks. Honestly, the cockpit. If you're at all aware of these old aircraft, you know, it took me back to the days of my old man in his DC-8. All analog, more or less, the cockpit of this Boeing KC-135 Stratotanker. Otherwise known as the commercial, the passenger variant was the 720, which was the shorter variant of the Boeing 707. But even so, the aircraft itself, in fact, this particular aircraft had just been brought back from its what I would classify as a D check, where they literally stripped the whole aircraft down back to the bare nuts and bolts and rivets, just to check the. Obviously, these things are very, very old. 60 years old, I think 57 years old. This aircraft or something like that. But yeah, very, very sturdy airframes. I mean, the thing is that I can imagine why the Air Force chose the 707 or the 720 as the usable airframe, was because Boeing always over-engineered their aircraft, and still do to this day. The 747, a very strong aeroplane, and the replacement for the KC-135 is going to be the 767 military variant of the 767 anyway. So you can see just how much faith the United States Air Force have in the Boeing platform. Alec Padley tuning in from a sunny Skegness. Good day to you. Wade Perry, Ewan Lee, Trevor Kemp, Sarah Deal. We have F-15s at Logan years ago. Our windows banged when they went by. Wow. Used to wake me up. Yeah. It's a bit like I was describing the other day about the how they would literally appear like that over the crowd line. But we're talking about back in the old days of like the lightning, which was to me the ultimate air display at the old air shows, where health and safety wasn't even thought about at that point in time. I don't think in terms of the crowd lines, and until things obviously started happening where we'd accidents at air shows and stuff like that. So now, obviously, as you can appreciate, actually, just coming off that subject, I think that the Reds may have done a loop-the-loop at a high loop at the British Grand Prix last weekend. Certainly saw them flying over and spewing out the red, white and blue. Kerosene, I think that is. I think that's raw kerosene that is injected into the engine exhaust, which is how you get that plume of smoke. Carl Mason, no idea what sortie these guys are on. They could be going to different sectors, possibly air-to-air refueling. Carl Hanlon, the US Air Force chose the A330 as the KC-135 replacement, but were overruled by the President at the time. Okay. Wow. At the time. Okay. That's probably because it was Airbus, and he wants Boeing to get the contract, I'd imagine. Thanks, Carl, for that. Jeffrey Primus, wow. Buzzed by F-18s. David Edwards thinks that delivery of a Pegasus tanker to the US Air Force is on hold. But we'll add Lightning, the ultimate speed machine. Wasn't it just? Mick Daubney, I found out recently Boeing have repurposed 747 frames for their version of a Beluga Starlifter. Okay, so, well, there is already, of course, a Starlifter in operation, operated by Atlas Air, and leased to, well, actually not leased to Boeing. It is operated by Atlas Air, and it's used for a number of different things, as well as obviously shipping Boeing parts around or to from their different assembly plants and manufacturers to maybe over the top of us, that Cessna. It's quite surprising, really, only oh. Yeah, BJC, there we go, Biggin Hill, you take yourself back there, folks. Buccaneer, which, let's face it, is not the meanest of machines out there, but in its time was certainly decent enough to give you a fright. Buccaneer, I think, had a single engine, I think I'm right in saying. Of course, you had the Meteor and the Vampire that always used to fly as a pair. I don't know why that was, but Sanj Sharma. Well, Sanj, everything, most of the stuff that I have learnt, and I'm talking about here, is stuff that I've learnt from our viewers and through doing my own research. What's that high flying there? Oh, it's a shame I can't get that. Is there something there, Julie? Can you see that? There. What's that? Is that reconnaissance or something? Looks like DC-3. Looks like DC-3. That's a Herc, is it? Oh, sorry, I could only see, wow. Thought it might be the BBMF's DC-3 for a second there. Of course, I'd be completely and utterly wrong, but you know, you do get excited from time to time, Jerry, so just calm down there, calm down. I just caught a little quick glimpse, and trust me, I'm looking for a tiny little monitor here, folks, so give us a break, will you? Okay, Clive Hampshire, as far as he's aware, at least in South Africa, diesel is pumped onto the exhaust to create smoke. Not sure how the red arrows get to change the colour. I think it is just the dye. I think it's just the dye in there, Clive. I thought it was... okay, there we go. It is diesel and not... it's diesel. That's why it's got that sort of like... yeah, that smell about it when if they do a low level pass and the smoke actually descends onto the crowd, you do get that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is diesel. Of course it is. Not kerosene. You stupid boy. Recce Rat C130. There we go. Thank you. Hercules. Thank you. Eraz. Ben Brown. Don't have to put an exclamation mark. It's fine, my friend. Don't forget the Javelin and Provosts were all over Kent when I was a boy. BJC saying fantastic. They add dye to the diesel. Bob the Bomb. Thank you. Mark Barr C130. US Navy C130T Hercules Aled. Thank you. Daryl Gray. Good morning to you. Harry Chamberlain's at the coast of Norfolk, so I can hear the jets fly over my house. Wow. Okay, so there we go, Recce Rat. I thought that was maybe what that might have been, was the Beechcraft Super King 350 snooping about at 16,000 feet. Javelin, the flying flat iron. He's right, you know. They've got a Javelin, I think, at the Gatwick Museum. Amazing when you see these things on display from the crowd line. They look really small, but when you get up to them, they're pretty massive. Samuel Barrell. I don't think they do have a Ram air turbine. Thank you, John Corton. Carl Portlock, another good day down at Lakenheath. Well, hope so, Carl. Wow, Terry Stapley on Vulcans at Coningsby back in the day. Oh, what memories. You still have dreams about that when you... Surely you would, wouldn't you? Getting those things readied for... getting those things readied for combat. Amazing how quickly they could fire up those Vulcans. I think they had literally a switch that the pilot just pushed the switch, and that switch ignited all the systems on board the aircraft, so you wouldn't have to go through all the pre-flight checks and all that kind of thing. It configured the aircraft, started the engines all at one point, and that's why they could get those things up in the air in what was it? Was it 60 seconds, or from the moment that that they started taxiing, or and they were on red alert, weren't they, most of the time as well? Okay, that's interesting. Let's just have a little look and see what's going on here. So if you just joined us, folks, we've so far had, was that a 4-ship and then a 2-ship prior to that? So we have had 6 jets go out so far. Not the usual sort of busy schedule that we're used to seeing here, but these guys out on the pan here, I don't know if they're just doing it for the sake of being there in case of a wind direction change, but you can see the chocks in position there. This is where the pre-flight checks, or the secondary checks, are done, where the all the pins are removed pre-flight. So those guys are in that hut there, and also there are some extinguishers on this pan as well, which, to be honest with you, is quite rare to see that. So whether we're expecting any sort of like hot pitting or anything like that, but at the moment it's certainly not turning out to be a very busy morning, that's for sure. Rene, the RAT is primarily used for single-seat aircraft that need a source of electricity, hydraulic power to operate their flight controls. The F-15 has an APU. Yeah, what if the APU packs up though? I'm guessing that they have full loss of power. I mean, chances of that happening, I think, are pretty rare, aren't they? But then the ultimate get out of jail card is the ejector, is it not? In an aircraft like this. Okay, Peregrine Bush, they offer landing checks and post-flight pins being added. So, okay, well that's a good thing. At least we'll get some action over here. So when we've seen them landing on 2.5s, that means that they will get to the other end of the runway. There's the exact mirror of this here at the other end. They will have the post-flight checks and pins inserted. So there we are, Peregrine, thank you for that. Makes perfect sense, that does. So these guys just waiting for Mark Barr. When I was an apprentice electrician, we had to put some converters in the hangars at RAF Waddington. I sat in a Vulcan, and the pilot started it up. Spine breaking. It can be. Wow. 350 is crossing east, west, north of you, Reke Ratsang. Rene Jensen, the F-16 has a hydrazine powered unit that provides power to its flight controls so that it can land with an engine failure. There we go. Hydrazine. Okay, let's just have a little look at that hydrazine power unit. it's a hydrozyne. It's obviously some kind of a system that's ignited by the looks of it. It's, a significant hazard each time an F-16 crashes. Okay, when activated, the unit provides emergency power for the aircraft systems. So it's one of those things that I guess once it's activated, it cannot be stopped. Would that be the case? Fired up for the emergency power unit. There's a risk associated with hydrozyne leaks. Okay, so this stuff's obviously potent. A recent, so look at these guys. They finished. Looks like these are ground crews, possibly. I don't know if they. I don't know if it may have been the C-17 Globemaster that brought them in yesterday. But when I arrived this morning, there was 4 foreign. I think I don't know where they were shipping them to or taking them to, but 4 40-foot trailers with low bed loaded massive generators. Looked new. So I think they may have been flown in by that C-17 yesterday on Monday. I'm not sure, but they were being shipped out. According to a US Air Force spokesman, the F-16 that was carrying live ordnance had a hydraulic failure that led to the crash. Rounds and missiles were secured and disposed, but the accident left 13 people injured, 3 people remain in hospital. Wow. Impact site of a crashed F-16 can be extremely dangerous, and one of the main hazards is hydrozyne. Hydrozyne is a colourless liquid that feeds the electrical systems and the EPU, the emergency power unit, as part of a backup power system on the aircraft. Okay, so an emergency power unit as opposed to an auxiliary power unit. So how that is powered, I don't know. When activated, the unit provides emergency power for the aircraft systems in the case of an electrical failure. In case of a flame-out, emergency power generated by the EPU is designed to give pilots the time they need to land the aircraft safely. And the EPU is fired up by hydrazine. There we go. See? Just a little thing coming from one of our members there, and the Gary Morris. Hydrazine is a nasty sniff if they ever have a leak. It's full. It's a full-on emergency. Wow. Surprised they haven't developed something a little bit more friendly, should I say? Oh, it's a truck, isn't it? Ben Brown talking about the Vulcan at Midland Air Museum. There's quite a few Vulcan examples of the Vulcan scattered around. We've been very fortunate to get on one of the only taxiing Vulcans. I think there's only 2 left now, isn't there? Was it the one we were up at? Was it Doncaster, wasn't it? And that was, it is, like he says, a very cramped cockpit, and of course, interestingly enough, you off then, fella?
I need to go and get something to eat another way. I might be back actually.
Okay, man. Yeah.
Cheers, bud.
Have one for me.
Yeah.
Cheers, man. Dan Heat is is intense enough. Got the silly hat on. That's an absolute given. But yeah, interestingly enough, there was a Vulcan that actually crashed at London Heathrow. Found this out from from one of the plane spotters at London Heathrow quite a few months ago. Yeah, a Vulcan crashed on approach to London Heathrow. I believe it was they were flying in to meet dignitaries or whoever it might have been, but the pilots ejected. I mean, I don't know if there are any other cases of pilots ejecting from the Vulcan, but this particular aircraft, the pilots ejected. However, the guys in the back, radio operator, I believe, navigator, radio op and navigator, or flight engineer and navigator. I'm not sure which what they were in the back or behind the cockpit, but they didn't have ejector seat capabilities, and obviously they unfortunately lost their lives in that particular incident. Of course, back in those days, the airfield at Heathrow surrounded by like cabbage fields and farmland. Just Melanie Lester tuning in from East Devon. Wow, Carl Walt, I remember as a boy going to the last of the Lightnings at Binbrook. Best day ever. Wow, the last time they displayed was that, Carl. What a memory. I mean, I still have it ingrained in my memory. Driving home, not myself, obviously, because I was a young lad, but my mum would take me to these air shows when I was a young lad. Just the noise ringing through your ears all day of these jets, and then I'll be driving home, and of course the road noise, the tyre noise on the road would sort of make me sort of like look around every now and then, because you kind of get the idea that there's a jet. It's still got the noise of jets ringing through your ears, and it is a fantastic memory that I'll always have of the old school air shows. And like Carl's saying there, Binbrook, of course, one of the bomber stations, I believe, back in the war. Bulldog, yes, one at Southend does do fast taxi runs, and we're expecting to do something with those guys. In fact, we're overdue a contact with them, because they were obviously affected, as so many people were, by COVID, but I think they might be. And of course, bear in mind that the Southend, the taxis, I think they do the taxi run on the actual active runway at Southend. Need to wow, Bob the Bomb saying to Carl, he was there, very wet day. Wow. Wow, Keith Cornell sat in a Vulcan talking to an ex-Lancaster pilot. Yeah, wow. Of course, a lot of the pilots post-war with BOAC and BEA and all of the, well, with BEA initially, and BOAC, the two merged to become British Airways. But prior to that, a lot of those pilots would have been ex fighter and bomber crew from the Second World War. Wow, Austin Jones, hydrazine is used as a fuel in multiple independently targeting warheads. Wow. Ben Brown remembers seeing the Vulcan. I think a lot of us have the Vulcan ingrained in our minds, approaching from one direction or the other, either left or right, and then approaching quite slowly, slight nose up attitude, and then the pilot would just punch the power, and just you get that massive great big howl as it banked up to the, oh my goodness me, plumes of black smoke coming out the back of her. Memories. Oh, the minute of my mind. Do, 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 do. Memories of the way we were. Dave Rankin just joined as a new member on Big Jet TV. Dave, a very warm welcome to you. Let me just loosen this head off a little bit. Oi, loosen your head, will you, son? Okay, there we go. That's a bit better. There we go. What's going on there? A bit nosy there. So, more ground crews. So the good thing is that these aircraft... Now, let's just hope that we do get to see some sorry, just get that. That's better. Neil Camp, the C-130 you showed has just gone over me near London Heathrow. Wow. Well, actually, I've not sat out in my garden, but I've been in my garden many, many times and heard these things climbing out. There's a KC-135. Sometime go down as far as Spain or even further on sometimes up to 12-hour missions. Those guys in the KC-135s. Michael Jackerman, you can sit in the Vulcan at Norwich Aviation Museum, and also the Nimrod that they have there. Sounds interesting. What is great, isn't it, when you get into these aircraft, the smell, you know, of the oil, grease, fabrics, the old fabrics that are obviously now rotting, literally, depending on how well they're preserved. Obviously, if they're outdoor exhibits, like we've seen on so many of these aircraft, which are, you know, unfortunately open to the elements, extreme cold, wet conditions, leaking roofs. A great shame to see, has to be said. But you know, these museums try and do all they can. Some of them are inside, some of them have covers over them, but most of these things are parked up outside. And I'll tell you what they do. I don't know if you saw it, folks, but obviously a lot of people have joined since we were down at Gatwick Museum, and they have engine run with a Lightning down there as well, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. I just filmed him coming out. But I don't see him turning. What, literally? Oh, there he is there, yeah, turning towards me, you're right. Well, kind of. See, they look like big engines, but they're only CFMs. I'm not sure what the CFM military variant is, a CFM 8 or CFM 58, or the detuned version. should be able to see the boom out the back of the aircraft just about. And one thing I did get to do also at Mildenhall on Monday was to lie, and this is you know, pretty exclusive in terms of being able to do it. But I was shown inside the aircraft, and I got to lie in the boom operator's station at the back of the aircraft. Very cramped position back there, albeit the fact that he's just lying there. He even had a chin rest, you know. Joystick on the left, which is the extender joystick for the boom, and the joystick down to his right is for controlling the flight of the boom. And also, interestingly enough, when the boom itself has a connection in it, when it connects with the recipient aircraft, it will it also has communications, live communications with the receiving aircraft. So the boom operator and the receiving aircraft can talk together, obviously, left a bit, right a bit, up a bit, down a bit, all that kind of thing. And then I think the pilot himself is literally flying the aircraft manually, or at least I don't, you know, it's not in autopilot, because he needs to obviously stay in touch. When I'm talking about the pilot of the KC-135, that is, has to stay in touch with the boom operator to make sure that, you know, because there's a lot of turbulent air comes off of the KC-135s, and sometimes, especially for relatively rookie pilots, so to speak, it can be a daunting experience trying to mate up that tiny little nozzle, the male and female part of the boom, and these booms that you see on the back of the KC-135 are not the basket type. Your bloody basket, Casey, what's that? This is it's got a nozzle on the end of it, which will attach to a female connection on the receiving aircraft. Ting Tong John. Ting Tong John, yes, did receive your email. Thank you very much indeed, and we'll obviously be taking that up, and most definitely be in touch with you for that, Kelvin Jones. Boo, boo, boo. Isaiah Kennedy, I remember when Blackpool had the Vulcans sitting on the airport so people can look around the aircraft. Wow. Yeah, there's one up at what's the name? Newark? Is it Newark Air Museum, I think? That's got a Vulcan there, as well as a number of other static display aircraft. Of course, Newark was, I believe, a bomber station back in the war as well. Daryl Gray saw the SR-71, that's the Blackbird at Farnborough. Never heard so much noise in my life, the ground shook. Wow, yeah. You just love that, don't you? I mean, just imagine being the pilot of these things. Showing off, literally showing off, isn't it? It's like pulling a massive wheelie on a motorcycle or something like that. That KC-135 is 57 years old. There we go, Bram. Thank you. Cassandra. Juan at the Blancolio saying he's bragging this morning that he gets better waves from taxiing pilots than you do. Okay. Is he laying down the gauntlet there, Jilly? Because we've had some Yeah. Well, we've had some pretty wicked ones in the past from a lot of different places, especially Manchester on the southern runway when they've been pulling into the southern runway. Has he ever had anyone pull that on a 737, pull the window, slide the window back, stick his hand out and give him a wave, and then push the window back in place? Was that a 737 or was that like an ATR or something like that? I can't remember. In fact, I don't think the old 737s have that. Maybe it was just a bit of banter. I don't know. there we go. Samuel Barrell. Newark does have the Vulcan along with a Concorde engine. A Concorde, yeah. I think there's quite a few of those spinning around, aren't they, those Concorde engines? Was it Spain? Also a good morning, a very warm welcome. It's the Olympus, isn't it? The Snemka, the Olympus engine with the Concorde. I had a visit from the police this morning. Came by to say hello because they were bored, which is a good thing. If they got not got anything to do, that's a good thing. But they popped by to say hello this morning. Interestingly enough. They did ask, is anyone giving you any grief up here? I'm like, no, not today, not as far as I'm aware. There's probably some people lurking behind the bushes and hiding behind keyboards, which they said and agreed with me about, which was quite funny. Yeah, such a bitter world out there, isn't it? But we're very fortunate to be in a good place, all us lot together. God bless you, blame me, really, and do that below. Dan, Southport Air Show used to love seeing the Harrier jump jet hover above the beach. Didn't half kick up the sand? Yes. Wow, I bet it did. Wow, what about over the water though? That must have been a sight to see as well. Hovering over the water. Michelle Taylor, good day to you. Cassandra. Bootle lad remembers when he had a 4-ship Harrier display at Southport. Wow, that's something I've never seen. Hey, oh. Sorry, mate? Yeah, of course I have, man. Always got stickers.
Oh, you alright?
Yeah, I'm good. You? Actually, I've got to come down and get some water. So, yeah.
How long have you been there?
Since 7:30. Yeah.
Busy or not?
4-ship go out, but
Yeah, I don't know.
not a lot. A bit disappointing, really.
But that's Lakenheath for you. You know, you can never, you've got a tank coming in from Liverpool to come back south to Scotland. No one's gone out on it really.
Yeah, I saw 2 go out. One's just gone out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, this is it.
You never know who they're going up for.
You got more Morgan or not?
Do I? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was up on Monday actually. They invited me airside for change of mind.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was very I was quite honoured actually. They invited me.
Yeah.
So they changed my mind over there. Yeah. It's, yeah, amazing aircraft.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Especially when you get through here.
Yeah.
All analog display.
Yeah.
The only glass screen I've got is like
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic. There's a lot of people here, isn't there? There's more people here than planes flying, that's for sure.
It's nice to meet you anyway, mate. You? Got some good old cars on there, haven't you? All terrain?
Yeah, the old ATs, yeah.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Well, it's to stop you getting stuck in the paddock
Yeah, exactly.
in the winter.
Yeah. Good old track one, isn't it? I like the clearance for the wind.
Yeah. What clearance?
Yeah, it's bloody hell. I was like, yeah, that's close, isn't it?
It is close,
All the
man.
way
It
round,
is. You
all
just
the
don't
way.
want to hit a big compression, that's all. Because you get a...
Yeah.
All right, mate, take care. See you, Andrew. Thank you. Okay, say about that. Okay, one van move. So hopefully, that might have been dropping off crew there. Who knows? William Patrick. Okay, the land is leased from the MOD. Is it then under US law as a military base? Good question, that Patrick. I think the you know the base itself is a US military base. So I'm guessing that yeah, inside the base everything's under US law. I'd imagine. But obviously once they're outside the base, they have to abide by Her Majesty's constabulary. Wow. French Air Force Mirage is heading through the Mach Loop today. Wow. Now that's a crazy looking aeroplane, isn't it? Especially when she's got all her weapons on her wing, because that is a delta wing, is it not? The Mirage, I think. Kieran Barrett. Loudest I've heard is the F-35s in VTOL. Wow. Vertical takeoff and landing. So yeah, that's you know, to keep that aircraft, even though it's relatively light, you know, in terms of you know, because the F-35 is a stealth fighter bomber, and I believe is, I think it's carbon. A lot of the bodywork is carbon. Lots of people moving. No, they're not. But to keep the aircraft aloft, even if it is light, to keep it in the hover is it involves quite a lot of power. And I always remember that the Harrier in the air displays at the air shows back in the day when I was a young lad, the Harriers were always very, very noisy when they were hovering, because it's a big, heavy aircraft, and apparently that was like more difficult to hover the aircraft than it was to fly it in normal flight. But it was quite interesting, wasn't it? Some of the contraptions that they used. When they were testing out VTOL. Those great big dangly legs with an engine in the middle, and the pilot literally sat exposed, and they obviously had some real issues when they were developing it at the beginning. Dan, the Harrier can only hover for 90 seconds. In this time it uses 150 gallons of water to keep the engine cool. To save fuel, a simple ramp allows the plane to take off on a very short runway. Yeah, that's obviously on the flight decks. That's why the great thing is that, you know, with the VTOL capabilities of the F-35, I think it's the F-35B. Is that the VTOL? It's got the A, which is non-VTOL, and we've got the B. But I'm sure someone will put me right. But aircraft, where's he come from? out of nowhere. Didn't even hear them firing up or anything. Wow. It's a nice surprise, isn't it? Let's just see if I've got any feedback from Mildenhall on that. Sarah Deal, loudest I ever heard was at a raceway. They had a car with an airplane engine on it. Well, yeah, I mean they've got the jet car, haven't they, at Santapod? Well, it's not at Santapod, but it is. I don't know if it's there. I think it might be. It maybe does displays elsewhere, but I think that predominantly it mainly does displays at Santapod. That's a pretty impressive thing. I'm not sure what engine it has on the back of it, whether it is Hayward Steve carrying drop tanks must be on long sorties. Yeah, that's. I think all of the aircraft that went out this morning were sporting the drop tanks. Let's just have a look here. Fire Force 5 jet car, there we go. Quarter of a mile in 5.0 seconds, 298 miles per hour. Okay, jet, let's just have a look and see. Let's just have a look here, see whether there is, wow. Doesn't actually say. Is there anybody here who knows which engine is inside that aircraft, that car? Flame and Thunder at Santapod. Love to go and stream one of those live, folks. I don't know if you're. I know you guys are into your. We're all into our aviation, but. Seeing those things go off the line, 10,000 horsepower, 10,000 horsepower, we're talking, folks, that would put your average jet fighter to shame in terms of its acceleration on the quarter mile. That is, of course, he wouldn't be able to keep up for very long with the likes of these boys after a certain amount of time. But 298 mile an hour. I mean, I don't know what the rotate speed of an F-15 is, for example, but it's got to be getting close to that, isn't it? Let's just have a little look. Takeoff and landing, 150 knots. Lift it slightly. Okay, so 150 knots. Well, that's certainly not 298 mile an hour, is it? So, so the jet car would be gone by then, or even a top fuel dragster, because these guys are rotating around about that quarter mile as well. They go up very, very quickly. Hey, oh,
Just come to say hi.
hello, how are you?
What's about, mate? I've been watching you on YouTube.
Okay.
Nice
Fantastic.
to see you.
Thank you.
I've got a small exercise going on at Huntington for the next 3 days.
Have I?
Yeah, but I went over there this morning and it's very quiet, but it's a night time one as well.
Oh, is it? They're doing night exercises, yeah?
Well, day and night.
Oh, is it?
But I don't know what they've got over there.
Huntington.
It's only 10 miles, well, 8 miles across from here.
Right.
Yeah, literally 15 minutes in the car.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's a black airfield type product.
Yeah.
And yeah, I saw it because they put it up on Google. They
Yeah.
said that I bought me the logo because I live in Berry,
Right, right.
and they put it on the logo thing news saying that you might have some noise over the 3 days.
Oh.
And they say Dave, I might go over actually later on this afternoon in the evening. Might be something, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fine,
There's what is it, Julie? Fighter. Yeah. Oh right, yeah, yeah, yeah. There are some pages that you can go to find out what's going on, obviously, but you know it's always difficult, isn't it?
yeah.
You can't get it from.
No, this was only because I live local.
Yeah, yeah,
I live in the area.
yeah.
Literally, it's 10 minutes from me.
So you should hear them all the time,
Well, yeah, but as I say, there's nothing going in this morning too.
right? Maybe
I
they.
reckon it's going to be probably an afternoon evening.
Yeah. Well, that'll be nice. Nip up there in the.
Yeah, and it's a nice airfield. It's stuck right in the middle of nowhere. Like, oh, lovely. Thanks, mate.
That's a pleasure.
Cheers.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your support.
So much for that this morning.
We just had one go out, a solo, and sorry, two went up, and then we had a two ship to start with, and then 4 went out. So but they're all ready to receive them. We just have to see how long their missions are going to be. I don't know.
Maybe 3 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've got drop tanks, so probably going to be quite.
They'll probably be out.
Yeah.
They could be out over hours.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
They normally go and over Holby.
yeah.
They're normally back in here for lunch, aren't they?
Yes.
Nice to meet you. Take care.
Take care. All the best. Somebody's just heard on the radio that they're coming back in. Oh, he comes now. There you go. Here's the first one on approach. Now I've got to keep an eye out for these because sometimes they will do an overfly. Which it looks like this guy. Has he got gear down? He's gear down, isn't he? It's just one on his own. Air brake activated. is it an aim or a sidewinder or something? Dummy. So he'll turn right into the box now. Box, box, box. And they will insert the pins and do a visual inspection of the outside of the aircraft. Mad Mac. It would appear that a Falcon 30 and Typhoon are in formation off the coast of Cleethorpes. So LH designation is was it LN Lakenheath. Sorry, apologies. Stupid boy. So what you're seeing behind that, folks, by the way, is what is known as a HAS, a hardened aircraft shelter. Supposedly blast-proof. I think shaped in that way to minimise the damage through shock waves. Interesting to see a crew bus. Wow. James Young tuning in from Devon. Good day to you, James. There are other these HAS shelters are scattered all the way across the base here. You can really see into that one there. See how it's lined. I think it is actually concrete, lined in concrete, I believe. Has there been an issue with the audio, Julie? Or is it all right now? Bobby Fitzsimmons, planning a 4-day staycation trip around the UK, hoping to visit air museums and airfields on the southeast northwest of UK. Bobby Fitzsimmons, there are so many places that you can visit. I mean, it depends on what sort of stuff you're looking for, but definitely, wow, yeah, there are so many museums. Newark is a good one to visit. Another one depends on whether you want new stuff or old stuff, and how far you're going to travel. Really, that's a decent thing to Google is your friend. Put it that way. In situations like that, and of course all of our friends on here who would be obviously more than happy to recommend museums. Stephen Owers. Yeah, we did have a few technical issues, and I think we did you say that the iOS had sorted itself out, Julie? Oh, okay. As far as I'm aware, I know we've had this discussion a number of times before, but these guys do have arrestor capability. They do have an arrestor hook, not that they are carrier jets per se, but in case of an emergency, they do have arrestor cables on the runway, or a capability, should I say. But only used in emergencies.
Come sit up there, mate.
That, I think, is an E variant. E or a D, one of the two. Or is it a C? Might be a C, actually. No, it's a C, in it. Just caught by the shade. Caught in the shade. Johnson, yeah. Parachutes. It's a lot of kerfuffle in it when you've got to shoot, because you've got obviously you've got to pack it, but also you've got to drop it once the aircraft's slowed to a certain speed, or a manageable speed. Obviously you're going to have issues with fetching that chute. You need people to go out there and fetch them off the runways, and therefore that would minimise the or increase the spacing between landing aircraft, which is probably why they implemented, but much more sort of like much more exciting to see the chutes deployed. Johnson C and D models, there we go. Mad Max saying, look at Lager 455, the route that took off the northeast coast of Scotland. It wouldn't surprise me if there was or had been a QRA launch. Interesting. Say it again, there. Louise Sylvia Wood, good day to you. Les S. People up here will hopefully. Yeah. Rennie Jensen, the Typhoon also has a brake chute. We saw it at one of the live streams as he had a brake emergency. Oh, we did, yes. We saw a brake chute on the Typhoon being deployed on a show from Coningsby. Yeah, remember that. Then taxied up, backed up, and unhitched it. Literally pulled the pin and unhitched it onto the grass off one of the taxiways. I remember that. At Nass Ocean in Virginia, we watched the F-18s take off in pairs, wild as it was, the same runway, but only feet apart. Yeah, they're not scared to fly in close format, those guys, are they, and girls? If you look closer, you can see the helmet-mounted queuing monocle on the helmets at Johnson. Is that the pull-down monocle, which is a version of head-up display, is it? I know what you're talking about, where you pull down and it is like a monocle. Louis loving the way it is great to watch the ground crews at work. Watch this one in its shutdown procedures. This guy here should be able to hear his engine shut down. He's going to. We saw him last time. Last time we were here, when we were holding it on this angle, we saw a guy actually climbing inside the engine itself. It's crazy because I remember Scotty saying, no, was it Scotty? Who was it told me? It takes approximately 70 minutes. They have to allow 70 minutes. No, it wasn't Scott. It was Mike, wasn't it? The chap who came and saw me at East Midlands. I think the pilot, BA pilot, told me that it takes approximately They have to allow 70 minutes of dead time for the engines to cool. Oh no, brakes. That was it. The brakes. It wasn't the engines. My apologies. It was the brakes. FLIR is what that is on the Apache. There we go. The helmet is tuned to the particular helmet mounted cueing monocle system for the particular jet. Yeah, BBMF hangar is a working exhibit, isn't it? A flying exhibit / working exhibit. Yeah, they do have tours, or not all the time, but they do have every now and then tours for people to come and have a look around the BBMF hangar. Let's see if this one's any better. There we go, Michael Jackman mentioning about the ground crews didn't like using the chutes, and understandably so, because it was a very complex and took a lot of time and effort to rebag a chute. Going out of Mildenhall. Quite a lot of tank activity. Typical at Mildenhall today. Ed Johnson, F-15 Eagle, has the nav / FLIR pods. Rep Ron tuning in from Buffalo in New York. Hope you're doing well, Ron. So it looks like the FLIR, forward-looking infrared It's what we were talking about, the pods earlier on, folks. Some of the so the hanging pod that you'll see on some of these aircraft, not all of them. They are cameras, typically used on military and civilian aircraft. Use a thermographic camera that senses infrared radiation. Thermal imaging. Wow. So thermal pods will, thermal camera will be able to pick up engine heat, I'm guessing, of the enemy aircraft. So therefore creating some kind of a guidance system, I'm getting. Imran, good morning to you. You can get them for the iPad, Hayward Steve saying. Reke Rat's flown the Apache simulator at Wattisham, sorry. Graham Hill, good morning to you. Christopher Hodgkinson. Flight sim near me doing a deal, either a Cessna 72 or an F-16. Wow. I know what I prefer. Okay, Margaret Tomlin, Lancaster, that's the BBMF Lanc, I'm guessing. Has she been down at Duxford for maintenance, I'm guessing? Michael Powell, just reading about the F-15EX. Will they deploy to Lakenheath? Good question, that, Michael. And I don't know, to be honest. That's some way off before they're being assigned to squadrons, I believe. I think they've only just finished the certification. I think the certification was last year, I believe. And now they're going into production, but obviously because of COVID, I wonder if there were possibly some pretty major delays. As, to be honest with you, there more than likely would have been. Keith Cornell, that F-15C there, 860166. I don't know if that's the one, but anyway, 35 years old. That's crazy, isn't it? 35-year-old aeroplane. That's the one he's talking about. Obviously gone through quite a number of upgrades since it was delivered. Mainly all flight management system upgrades, additional possibly racks for additional weaponry. Cosford is indeed a fantastic museum, and it is well worth a visit. That's for sure. Keith, I think you need to maybe change your internet service provider, or get a new just do something. Because I haven't got AOL, have you, by any chance? You've got mail. Don't have to crank it over in the morning, then. There we go, Peregrine Brush, very rightly saying, doubting that Lakenheath will see the EX as it's getting the F-35s, which we're hoping to see around about November time, possibly, here at Lakenheath. Repron, I live 7 miles from 914th Air Refuelling Wing at Niagara Falls Air Force Base. Wow, reserve station, flying the KC-135. Wow. F-15EX currently being offered to India, Ed Johnson saying. Poor old Keith. Seems to be a I think we should call Keith. Keith should have a middle name. Keith Refresh Cornell. Bless him. I would definitely call up your ISP though, Keith, and see if they can offer you a better deal, or at least a something better than the current modem that you've got, or whatever it is, the line in, maybe even the line in that you've got. I can definitely recommend Virgin, because it's just massively quick. And my modem's, what, 5, 6 years old? Still runs like a racehorse compared to other things. Blimey. Poor old Melanie as well. Oh. Blimey. Okay. Well, only way to do that, Jilly, is to play it back to see whether it's maxing out. I don't know. Fastest front, Keith Cornell. Yeah, 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 yeah. Not right, and it's not in any way distorted or anything like that. Oh, that's a nice breeze. Yeah. Yeah. These days, though, don't you get what you pay for in terms of your ISP? Um, you know, fibre optic is the way forward, isn't it? Really, and of course, you know, can't be that much more than your average ISP. Sort of, wouldn't have thought. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, trying to get approval on that video. Oh yeah, and that info that I got back regarding the photographer who was awarded by one of the very uh, grateful F-15 pilots here, a photographer who took pictures of one of the F-15s going out. Probably wasn't expecting it. He was just probably taking a normal photograph, and he caught the moment that one of the engines was spitting flames. Certainly different sort of like uh, flame shape that you normally get from the reheat or afterburners. Apparently, one of the exhaust nozzle actuators, of which there are a number of them. In fact, Mike Bulldog works on the F-35 exhaust nozzles, and it's a very, very, very complex piece of mechanical engineering, needing to be obviously requiring complete synchronicity in terms of its setup, so that it. Especially, there's another KC-135 going out. Where they're busy this morning, man. Is that Herc over the top of me again? Okay. So yeah, the photographer. Anyway, the oh, is he doing circuits? That guy, possibly. bleeding Milden will catch some action from there maybe. Do what? Yeah, possibly. I'll keep an eye out for him. Yeah, very minimal stuff going on today, that's for sure. And the pilot came and because the cameraman, when he took that picture, he actually notified, called the guys up at Lakenheath, told them here, and the base controller and the ATC were informed. Then they in turn informed the pilot, and he returned to base and came down. I think it was yesterday to the visitors area here at Lakenheath, and showed his gratitude by giving the guys some patches and baseball caps, I think, which is really cool. Is it? Right. Is it worth calling? Let me stand by, folks. Let me make a call, Jilly. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Oh, hi there. Is that Lee? Hi, is that Lee? Hi, Lee. This is Joe. Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Just wondering how busy you are. We should have, I think we had a few, quite a few people up your way. About what, sorry? Okay, yep. Right, of course, yeah. Yeah, we just can't really do it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I understand. But, maybe pop down when it's off. No space in it, right, pop down. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, sir. All right, good stuff. Thanks a lot, then. Take care. All the best. Cheers. Thanks, bye. Very quiet, this man. Hello, mate. It's very quiet. It is very quiet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like normal.
No.
Might have to go and film somewhere else, I think. going on with this thing? It should be on. Oh, that's why. Okay. There we go. Hey. Yeah, just busy. Just really rammed down there. And probably, I'd imagine, the other spots as well. So, you know, that's a shame. Never mind. He's had quite a few bookings out of it, though. Do what, sorry? Yeah, tripod takes up quite a lot of space, though, doesn't it? I mean, you're talking about a probably about 6 foot, 7 foot square area. Different than an individual standing there with a camera. Much more different, and of course it's quite tightly packed up there as well. It's not the biggest platform in the world, probably, you know, twice the size of the. No, again, because it's just full of cars and campers, isn't it? But there you go. It is a shame. Allison XL, yes, Bryce is closed apparently due to runways repairs, heat damage. Okay. Jimmy G61, yeah, he's quiet. Let me just see how long it would take me to get there. Yeah. Wow. I'm doing an hour 43. Yeah, might be worth it, you know. Do an evening session down there or something. Who fancies that? Maybe get down to Heathrow, folks. Do an evening session down there. Okay, that's a bit of a shame, but we can still live with that. Oh, okay. Yeah. Neil Soane, looks like Jerry will get an Apache transiting through shortly. Prowler 1 on his way back. From where to where? Over Thetford. Okay. Okay. right. Where's it come from though? Yeah, I think we can say yeah. Just knowing my luck, as soon as I pack down, the flipping that that four ship will return, and they'll do flyovers and touch and goes and all sorts of crazy stuff. Going back to Wattisham, Neil Sohn saying. Yeah, no, we'll hang around for a little bit longer. Do what? Say that again? Oh. Louise Sylvia Wood, an absolute pleasure, Louise. Unfortunately, I don't know if this is your first time with us watching Lakenheath. It's usually a lot busier than this, Louise. We would have normally between 10 or maybe even 15 ships going out on each on different sorties in the morning, usually around about 8 a.m. But today has been very thin on the ground, so it's always a little bit of a gamble. Gamble responsibly. But hey, Neil Sohn, it's been at the ranges at Hull Beach. There you go. This Apache. One thing's for sure, we definitely do have at some point returning aircraft, because the technician's hut is still, or the Irks. Used to call them the Irks back in the day. I don't think they'd like to be described that way right now, but back in Bomber Command, the ground crews, and I guess possibly even the fighter command crews as well, ground crews, were called Irks. Kieran Barrett, the two ship is up at Northumberland. Yes, Margaret, will be hot down at Heathrow, but we can handle it. If I can handle Toulouse, incredible heat at Toulouse, and I'm sure we can handle Heathrow, but thank you anyway. Yeah. Neil Osborne loves it down the Heath. Chris Cartwright, to be honest with you, Chris, I like both. I'm a big fan of the military stuff, but also a massive fan of the civilian stuff as well. Equal, got equal passion for them. You know, just because I love aviation and all aspects of it, all elements of it. Mad Mac, wondering, to film at a military bases, are you briefed on what to film and what to say? No, Mad Mac, not at all. We are we're in a public area here, of course, and you've got to understand that my lens is nowhere near as capable as a 150mm lens that can probably pick up the eyeballs of your average fighter pilot going out. So there's I can't get any more than what a stills photographer has in terms of his capabilities. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're airside, which I was on Monday at Mildenhall, that's a different thing altogether in terms of what you can film, and that's why I had to film everything post-production when I was down at Mildenhall. Neil Osborne. That's a pleasure, Neil. Sweating for our pleasure. Richard Joy, good day to you. Ben Dyer, can't wait for Heathrow later. My favourite, there we go. Only the man. Scotty Honeybone, absolutely no idea as to the reason why it's so quiet. I do know that apparently operations were disrupted yesterday due to weather, possibly in or around the training areas, not so much at Lakenheath itself, but maybe out in the North Sea or some of the training areas. Is that jet arriving? Is it? Oh.
Hello.
Bleeding car. What was a jet?
Oh, yeah? Yeah, you might go to that running track, dude.
Yeah, it's lovely when the sun goes in and to get that cool breeze.
Probably, because it's going to probably...
Thanks, Fasters Funk. I do try.
Don't.
Louis Silver would. I think Tom Cruise is.
Might need that on there.
He was up at there. He was up at Silverstone, wasn't he? Old Mr. Cruise. David Hammond, F-15's currently over Northumberland. Yeah, DJ Marky Mark. They do use. I think the only non-American vehicle on the base are the transits, the Ford Transits used for transiting. Funny enough, the cruise. Dane Grayson, good afternoon. Late after a late shift last night. He's watched it. Well, oh no, watch 3 other interviews they've done. There we go. So Dane Grayson's looked back in the archives of the layover. Yeah, well worth doing, folks. I mean, there's some very interesting people that he's interviewed. Him and Mark, isn't it? And Mark's wife, I think. Wow, Ed Johnson, we've seen some AWACS U-2s and 747 command centres flying over Phoenix recently. Wow. Keith Cornell's refreshed he's having another go in. Poor old Keith. Good morning. Exploring with me, Dave. Del Boy Ron Swanson. Somebody saying incoming. isn't Arizona a more of a dry heat, a bit like Vegas? John Grinham wanting the Hilton Garden Inn. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? What is the best all-round position at Heathrow? Whether it's the Hilton Garden Inn or whether it is the Hyatt. Southern Runway Operations 09s. With them coming towards you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is a tricky one, isn't it? Wow. 115. John Grinham, good afternoon. Wow. Bleeding camera is roasting. Might need to do something about that. Hello, hello. That's something coming towards me. Can you hear that? That may be that where that guy was, that airfield, which is that airfield that sounds like yeah. That sounds like something going out. What did you say, that airfield that's yeah, Thetford. That's definitely something going out of there, isn't it? Oh, did you? What have they got flying out of there then? Yeah. Yeah, one of the locals. Is it? Okay, hold on a minute. That might be right. What's that all about then? Oh man, what's going on? What's going on here? It's my charger lead. What's wrong with my charger lead, mate? Yeah. Sorry, folks. I don't really know what happened there. RAF Thetford. you, Ed. Yeah, I'm not under an umbrella, but I do have a big hat. Um, so yeah, what about Toulouse? Did you say Chile? What was that? Right. But it's 10 days, is it, on return? Like it or lump it? Well, yeah, but Amber is test to release on day 5. Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Ish. Hmm. Is it worth is it worth having a look then, Jilly? Yeah. Right. What? What do you mean? Well, next week. I don't know. Um, so does with the BBMF Lank being down at Duxford at the moment, is that still undergoing maintenance repairs, or is she going to be flying during the weekend's displays? Because obviously the BBMF is one of the big, the main pools, isn't it? With its 2 hour, 2 hours in Munich. I don't mind that. No, 2 hours goes very, very quick because you got 40 minutes of that is boarding and queuing and all that old stuff. Okay, Chris Fleet's saying it's still under maintenance. Kian Barry, how many F-15s went out? Had a 2-ship, 4-ship, and another 2-ship. I think that's how many we've had so far. 7 gone out so far, or 8. Because 2 plus 4 plus 2 is 8, Jerry. Yeah? Are you alright with that? Which one it goes, George? Blimey, O'Reilly. Poor old Keith. He's taken the house down, he's rerouted everything, he's moved house, he's plumbed it, done everything he can. Page not responding. Poor old Keith. But how can it be? How can he be typing on here when he's not able to watch the stream? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. Wow. Cruisefleet Lank will likely be out of service from next year for a couple of years due to fabrication of replacement vertical tail fins. Wow. Nigel Fenwick saying, or Fenwick, convert Corvette 11 flight F-15s have finished up here in Northumberland, Otterburn Range, and are headed back to you now. Thank you, Nigel. The current ones aren't true to the Lancaster. The new ones are being fabricated from scratch. Okay. Wow, Ed Johnson, when growing up in Arizona, my next door neighbour at the time had flown the P-38s over Berlin. Wow, that's the P-38 was the Lightning, wasn't it? The twin boom, 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 twin engined, twin boom, Lightning. Kieran Barrett, 2-ship from Northumberland, returning to base. Here we go. Grab him, grab him, grab him, grab him, Jerry, grab him. Oh, man. pins go in.
I know it now. Yeah. I don't do that, man.
How much? Bloody hell. And that's excluding the PCRs. Wow. Do I have to have a fit to fly 72 before I go? Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Okay. And then when I get there, 48 before. Okay. Yeah. What, day 2? Well, that was day 5 was the test to release, wasn't it? Okay. Ed Johnson, I think those F-15Es are still here. They're just either not in operation today or they may be on assignment somewhere else. David Hammond, this is the EP3E variant. EP3E Aries version. Okay. Possibly a typo or something. I think that's a better bet, Gilly, because the reason I'm saying that is because it's another month. It's another 8th of August. Did you say? 10th of August. Yeah, I think. Right. Yeah. Should we just book it? Should we just book it? Let's just book it. Book it. Book it. Let's go to Toulouse, man. Let's go to Toulouse. Okay, we're just booking Toulouse, folks. Toulouse or not Toulouse. Oh, David Hammond, that's the Navy EP3E over the English Channel. Okay. For coming back. What? When I'm in France? Oh, thought you said I don't. Chris Cartwright. Chris, try, if you're in the UK, Chris, I can recommend Plane Finder. That's a great app, run by a handful of English chaps, hard-working chaps. They don't quite have the budget that Flight Radar have, but their app is just as easily usable and navigable as the other well-known apps that are out there. I just give them love because they're good people that are contactable and approachable, and listen to the customer. Like Flight Radar used to do, but they kind of grew out of that, became a bit too big for their britches, and now if you want to do anything with them, you've got to have a big load of money behind you, or whatever it might be. Oh, do I? Oh, well, that's pretty good. That's the cost of the... Might as well use that. Yeah, use it. Andrew Grainer, F-15's just passed to the east of York. You hear him, Jilly? Oh, okay. Right. Paul Cullen, good day to you. Great sight, aircraft shimmering in the heat, beautiful. Well, they've been thin on the ground today, Paul, so we're looking at possibly, once the last ship has returned, we're probably going to head back to London and do something at Heathrow for you guys later. Thank you, Phil. What's 100 and what? What's that? Okay. Is that with the baggage, yeah? So what about accommodation then? Yeah, yeah, okay. I think, to be honest with you, I'll probably, I think I'd prefer, well, see what you can do with rentals, because I've heard that rental has gone through the roof, because of the lack of available cars, believe it or not, because of the chip shortage. Wow, Ed Johnson's really on it. It's not that's not a huge loss, is it, Ben? Missing retirement number 319. I mean, it's a shame, but I don't think it's going to be sort of like, worth breaking your neck over, driving like a maniac to catch a 319 being retired. It's a shame, but it's just going to be replaced, or probably has already been replaced by a Neo, I'd imagine. But there we go. Jeff Anderson, I wonder where that B model is going. Okay. Dave Eastwood, it's just gone over Hull. The two F-15s, I think. Is this the 4 ship that's on the return? I wonder. ADSB has the next returning F-15s as Eagle versions. Okay. Is that the... Kevin Franklin, I was a structural engineer on the American Air Museum, Duxford. Wow. Wow, spent a good couple of years in my 20s designing the roof. It was recently listed grade 2. That's when you know you're getting old. Kevin, that's brilliant. Great work. May I congratulate you and your team on producing such a fantastic... And I'm guessing that within that structural design you had to account for aircraft hanging from the ceiling, because the girders, you know, the design of the building is such that... What's that? Oh, should be 0012, yeah? Okay. Blimey, that's how long we haven't booked a flight with BA for. That's crazy, man. Dick Dastardly, thank you. Guy Burton, good morning. Overalls off and boots off. Must be half a stone lighter. God, blimey, in this heat as well, yeah. You don't want to be working on the roads in this heat, do you, really? Oh, it's a two-ship. Two-ship, a single from the four-ship returned before the four-ship, thus making it a three-ship. Okay, there we go. Thank you for that, Mighty 52. David Hammond, F-15s turning east, heading out over the sea. Wonder whether they are hooking up with the KC-135. They're at the same height. Okay. There we go, Kevin Franklin, sure did. Sockets cast into the concrete beams, entire glass facade is removable to rehang the display. Wow. Thanks for that, Kevin. Yeah, you're not just going to use eye hooks from home base, are you? Steve Vincent just joined Plane Finder at $9.99 for the year. That'll do for me. There we go, Steve. Hey, here's a very interesting thing you might want to try, Steve, while you're on the app, which is kind of funky. First of all, you can check playback. Yes, at the bottom bar, you've got bookmarks, filters, playback, alerts, and settings. I've got my filter always set to London Heathrow both, because that's just, well, normally I have. But obviously, you can set your filters to whatever airfield you want. But also playback, I use that a lot as a guide to find out what it was like, say for instance, last Wednesday at another airport, to gauge whether or not it's worth us going to a specific airfield, and also in order for us to keep an eye on UK and international airfields in terms of planning. But also what is really funky, and it will use quite a lot of data, I think, but it doesn't warn you that it does. So I think it's playback that uses most of the data. But if you put 3D on, bottom right hand side, you'll see the little cloud for the weather. Then you see the in the circle 3D. Check the 3D out and have a look at that. That is pretty funky and a bit of fun, that's for sure. I actually spoke to the guys up at Duxford the other day, and we are looking to do a show from the American hangar there in the next couple of months. So look out for that as well. We did a live piece from Duxford with on the I think it was the Battle of Britain memorial, or celebrating the 100 years, was it, of the Battle of Britain? No, it wouldn't be 100 years, would it? It'd be 70 years or 70? No, 75. I don't. 1939, 1940, wasn't it? So 60, maybe 80 years, I don't know. But yeah, it was celebrating the end of the Battle of Britain. And of course, you know, there's speculation over the Battle of Britain in terms of, you know, whether it some historians also include the Blitz within the Battle of Britain, because the Battle of Britain actually, the Blitz actually happened whilst the Battle of Britain was going on, but some historians like to separate it and put the Battle of Britain, the air war, in terms of the our boys going up and the whole fighter command, very, very busy. They work those boys hard, man, and the aircraft as well, of course, to defend our green and pleasant land. And what a great job they did. But some of it has to go down to luck as well, like it always does in any armed combat. You know, the Hitler called off the because he was after bombing every single airfield on the south coast, but he called that off, I think it was, to concentrate possibly on the Russian conflict. I don't know, but we were quite lucky that he did do that, because we were really seriously running low on available aircraft. Oh, Jeff Anderson, I wonder how many of those C models of F-15s, C model F-15s at Lakenheath have stars on them from air-to-air victories. I'm sure it's several. We have seen that before, stars on the below the canopy. Definitely, Jeff. And of course, one needs to remember that these guys have fought in some serious conflicts. 91 Gulf War, defense of Saudi Arabia, liberation of Kuwait, the Kosovo air campaign. That's some of the engagements and decorations that you'll see on the tail fin as well of these aircraft. Because of the heat haze, I can't really see, can't really close in on it at the moment, but you see at the top of the vertical tail fin there, you'll see the tail markings on there. I think that particular one may be at Toulouse. Well, I'd definitely go for the Holiday Inn then, and not the Express. I'd recognise it. I'd recognise it if I saw it. No, that was wasn't. Yeah, because Portugal had the pool, didn't it? Oh, did it? Ed Johnson, yes, indeed. Hitler cut back the ME-262 fighter production as well, which was obviously costing a hell of a lot of money. But also, don't forget the latter part of the war, they were running out of fuel, and there was the other one, wasn't there? There was the other, the little single. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I don't know, SKW. That's something you'll have to find out through research. But I've got the Pro on Plane Finder. It's like I say, it's $9.99 a year. Definitely worth it. He's saying there's no update in the Play Store available. Perhaps there is a difference in Android. Maybe it's a little bit more. Maybe there's a little bit more available with the iOS version than there is on Android. Ed Johnson, an ME-262 was shot down by a P-51 with a Merlin engine. Yeah, because of the manoeuvrability, of course, of the P-51 Mustang. I don't think the ME-262 had a tremendous capability in terms of its manoeuvring, and the P-51 with that the muscle of the Rolls-Royce Merlin was a force to be reckoned with. It has to be said. I think actually. In terms of outright capabilities, both the Spitfire and the Mustang were very, very close in terms of all-out capabilities. Heinkel HE-162, that was that tiny little thing with a single wheel in the middle. I said, or was it? No, it didn't even have wheels. It had one of those detachable wheel sets, which once it took off, and it belly landed basically. It had sort of like 3 minutes worth of fuel. It went up to the bomber stream, usually attacked them from the side, literally managed to do one pass, and then had to go back to base to refuel. But I don't think there was much combat experience, much combat activity with the 162. I think that might be the one, the little one. Battle of the Bulge was the diminishment of the fuel in World War II. There we go. Someone's mowing the lawn like Speedy Gonzales, apparently. I'm not seeing that. Michael Jackman, F-15E now refueling from the tanker. Okay, there we go. He's talking about the KC-135, yeah. Jerry Hattrick, Mosquito was better than the Spitfire. Low-level bombing. The Mosquito was night fighter variant of the Mosquito as well. Much like the ME-110 night fighter variant as well, and the Focke-Wulf FW-190, as well as the BF-109, all available in night fighter variants. There we go, Ed Johnson. It was a rocket plane. It was powered by a single rocket, yeah. Light the blue touch paper and stand well back for that thing. Oh, the ME-163, Jeff Anderson saying. Right, there we go. Dave Eastwood thinks he just heard more F-15s heading south over Hull. Jeff Anderson, big difference between the Spitfire and the Mustang was range. Bear in mind also that they developed the Mustang with drop tank capabilities to escort their bombers deep into Germany, and by doing that they could obviously cover them all the way to the target and back. So that was not something that is that my doorbell? It's not, is it? That was obviously something that as far as I'm aware, the Spitfire didn't have that long range capability. It was just for, I think the furthest the Spitfire went was northern France, and used for the D-Day landings as well, to strafe the beaches and stuff like that. But yeah, the Mustang. Of course, then we've got to remember aircraft like the Typhoon as well, which was... What's up, GP? Yeah. Well, that sounds decent enough, doesn't it? Yeah, you do. Yeah, and that's picking up at the airport. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. 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 Book it. Am I missing this lawnmower going mad? This fella on the lawnmower. Every time I look down, I'm obviously missing him. Gun, couple of lawnmowers behind the cockpit here. 15-inch shot. Okay, we're going to Toulouse, folks. What's the dates, Jilly? 11th and 12th of August, folks. Put that in your diary. Members only, of course, and you know it, it 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 warms my heart to be able to bring something to our members exclusively, because that's what it's all about, really. Obviously, I love to bring these shows to a global audience, but we also must remember our wonderful global I have to say, patient global membership, who are real stars in themselves. Of course, that is first class and super class as well, available to that level of membership. So really, I cannot thank you again enough for all of your support, and that goes for all of you guys on the economy side as well, and the executive members as well. Of course, as an executive member, you'll get to see the Toulouse shows around about 2 weeks after we've returned from France. Oh, 7 days. Sorry, my apologies. 7 days after, just because obviously we like to run it exclusively for our first class and super class members. That's basically how the whole system works. And of course, what's that, Julie? F-15s in 1 minute. Okay. Okay, should see them appearing then in that case any time soon. No, that'll be him probably, I imagine. Oh, there's the geezer on the mower, isn't it? Yeah, Toulouse is Toulouse is really for the real hardened aviation enthusiast. Because the great thing with Toulouse is you get to see the aircraft in their primer state before they've had their liveries painted on. Normally just the tail fin, possibly the winglets as well. And you even get to see A350s without winglets on. You get to see them in their raw state, folks, without engines on them. They call them gliders out there. But airlines themselves, like Virgin, when I spoke to Virgin, they don't like to see their aircraft in the glider state, so to speak. But it is it's pretty fascinating to watch some of the stuff that they do down there. Of course, there is different procedures for an aircraft once it's been assembled in the different areas around the Toulouse plant. You know, wing assembly, engine assembly, fuselage connection, all that kind of stuff. Then it has to go through ETOPS setup. And flight deck, the interior, the cabin. Sometimes the cabins are fitted there, other times they're fitted at the customer's facilities. But you will see the aircraft going out for a taxi run test. Then you'll have the rejected takeoff test. Which there'll probably be a couple of. Then you start to see the flight tests as well. and on those flight tests you'll get the you'll also get the uh, go-arounds, and of course they have to tick these off of the run sheet, you know, to make sure that the aircraft is meets all the requirements. Melanie can hear aircraft. You know, in a condition like this, you need one of those cool jackets that the Formula One drivers wear on the grid. You literally fill it up with water and then put it in the fridge. Yeah, they put it in the put it in the freezer, and it's just freezing cold on your body. Keeps the core temperature down, doesn't it? And yes, Rep Ron, Airbus fans. You have to be an Airbus fan. But to be honest with you, you don't have to be an Airbus fan. You just have to be somebody who appreciates engineering and the technical side of building these wonderful aircraft. And of course, once we can, folks, we're going to be going out to Renton or wherever it might be, to the Boeing plant. Oh, that's a nice breeze. Oh, that's a lovely breeze. That is funny, isn't it? Yeah, that is funny, isn't it? Yeah. It costs more money to buy fish and chips than it does for first class membership. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? What did what did cod and chips used to be? 50p or something like that down at the old fish and chip shop. But that's the day when they wrap your fish and chips in your newspaper. By the time you got home, it was just like moulded into the newspaper. It was like, you know, all the skin came off, and yeah, it's just like a big mash of chips and fish and mushy peas, of course. Mm. That's why if I ever do get fish and chips from a fish and chippy, I say, can you don't? Why do they have to pack them in so tight? Remember they used to go and wrap them up, and it was like, that's so tight. Why do you have to wrap them so tight? No, they don't do that anymore. Health and safety, of course, you get flipping poisoning from the ink or something like that. But yeah, but they have paper, but it's printed on or something. I don't know, whatever. But nowadays, also, it's some of the times it's in a polystyrene carton, isn't it? Karen Fretwell is a new member to Big Jet TV. Welcome, Karen. Probably was, Bootle lad. 3p for a bag of chips. Right, well, let's hope that one or two of these do a... I can hear them. Oh, yeah. No, that's something taking off, isn't it? Debbie Speller, 1 and 6 for fish and chips. A shilling and sixpence. I remember the sixpence as well. Whitby serves the best fish and chips, doesn't it? Oh, Melanie Nestor's local chippies, award-winning. They use cardboard to wrap in, and they taste amazing. Yeah, and they're not all squishy. Got to have chips that are cooked properly. They've got a little bit of crispiness to them, not a massive amount of crispiness to them, you know. But yeah, there is an art to chips, isn't there? And fish, battering the fish, smacking the living. There you go. Ed Johnson's sixpence. Keith Cornell just had quid 32 go over at 32,000 feet. It's forgive the you don't want to be opening up a can of worms over your chips, do you? But I know what you're talking about, Peregrine. Bits and pieces. Are they playing or what? Where are they? What is going on over there? Grimsby. Stephen Billings, good afternoon to you. Oh, that's what I'm hearing. James Davis saying F-15s keep doing circles a few miles to the northwest. That's what we're hearing. Brian Stubbles, absolute pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. He's confined to bed because of ill health, but your shows help greatly get me through this bad spell. Stay safe, the both of you. Thank you, Brian. And don't worry about us. You just get yourself fit and up and about as soon as you can, Brian. Well, he's probably there already, wasn't he? Dick Dastardly's saying they're on their way now, so Well, I mean, let's come to Lakenheath. Go in the post office and get a breakfast. Go in the post office and get a breakfast. And some first class stamps. It's a lovely old 911, by the way, folks. It's just pulled up below me. Nice old school one with a whale tail on it. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? You behind the bike sits. Stand still, laddie. Michael Jackerman, F-15's now coming home. Here we go. Oh. Oh, hold on a minute. I've got wind interference on my mic, Jelly. Might do it anyway. I don't know if there's any. Well, it's the vortex from the tyre smoke, folks. Nice. It's like squadron leader's moustache. Here we go. At least we had one. Engine start. Now that is an E variant. Look at all the pods on it, man. That's an E variant with the extra fuel tanks at the side of the intakes as well. That's bristling, isn't it? Oh yeah. Just make sure this guy doesn't do a Do a nice low run along the runway, man. That's what we want. Not flat out landing lights on. That's not going to happen now, I don't think. Touch and go? No. Oh. Johnson. There we go. See the nav and flare pods. It's another E variant. By the looks of it. See the bulge on the side of the intakes, and the colour, of course. Darker grey. Peregrine F-15s at Lakenheath very rarely do touch and go. They do missed or low approaches instead. Seen them a few times do touch and goes here. Not a great deal, but have seen them. Okay, ground crews done for their morning mission. Bit of a lovely old tool you got there, fella.
Yeah, thank you.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Lovely colour as well.
Yeah,
Is that the stock? Is it the stock? How it came? Yeah. Beautiful, man. She's a real looker. Yeah, it does sound good. And she smells quite clean as well for an old car. What's that? What? What are you talking about, Jenny? What was that? Say that again. Repeat that. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I can't say anything, but that just goes to confirm the conversation that I was having with this really nice chap earlier on who's ridden up here on his motorcycle about the knowledge, but I won't go into it because that does make me. I'll tell you when we're off air, but it does make me laugh. Anyone seen the new US Air Force trainer, the T7? Swishy looking bit of kit. 30-year-old, that F-15. Those are, well, probably about around about that. Wow, there we go, Keith Cornell. Quid 32 passing over Rouen in France already. Yeah, they do service the whole of Europe and Africa as well. Those guys at RAF Mildenhall. T7. Oh yeah. The Boeing Saab T7 Red Hawk, originally known as the Boeing TX, is an American-Swedish advanced jet trainer produced by Boeing in partnership with Saab. Nice. Yeah. Twin vertical stabilizers. Looks like a trainer at the front. Looks like a gnat or a typical trainer at the front, but it has got twin stabilizers on it. Good question, that. Basil Sims, what's mounted on top of the possibly radio antennae? I don't know. So Bulldogs, and my mate in the 494th should be back from the Middle East in October, so all squadrons should be back soon. I have to keep in touch with you, Mike, just to, obviously always very helpful to get some kind of inside information as to, for us to be able to gauge that how busy or how quiet these bases are going to be. I think that's it, GP. Yeah, back to Heathrow. What's that? Okay, folks. Oh. Is that Porsche? Look? Is that Porsche? Isn't it lovely, eh? A lovely old thing. Yeah, that's a tool, that is. 2.7 litre. Goes like poo off a shovel. Really? Really? Wow, you don't want to say that in front of a Porsche person. It's lovely, man. Anyway, I'm sure a few people on here will say, "Ooh, don't like it," or whatever. So yes, we are going to head to London Heathrow, only purely because, folks, I kind of feel like I haven't given you a full show today. So we're because of how thin on the ground the operations are here at Lakenheath. It is a suck it and see kind of job. Sometimes we come here and there's a lot going on. Other times it's very quiet. To be honest with you, this is probably the quietest it's ever been. But so I'm going to head back now. Get back. I think I've got spare batteries enough to do a few hours down at Heathrow this evening when it cools down a little bit. And we'll get together a little bit later on. So apparently the iOS issues that we had earlier on the notifications on the iOS system were not working properly earlier on, or yesterday actually. That issue has now been resolved, so you should get your notifications. But look, I'm saying it to you now. So if you keep your phone on, or at least just keep checking back and seeing whether we are live, then you won't miss out this afternoon. Don't rely fully on the apps. If you have an idea, if I've told you that we're going to be live on a specific day or date or time, then invariably it will happen. So even if you don't get notifications, still check your phone and make sure that you've got you can see exactly what's happening on your phone. Goro, thank you. Oh, hello. Sounds nice. Rear mounted, 2.7 litre. Gig. Listen to that. That's a proper tool, that is. Actually not the whale tail, is it? The whale tail was that just enormous, great. It was an outrage. It was just enormous, the whale tail. If he goes down here, he's gonna open it up and he like, bop. But anyway, yes. Let's go then. Should we go, Jilly? Are you ready to rock and roll? Let's go to Heathrow. I'd say, what are we doing now? It's just coming up to 1 o'clock. 2 hours to get back. 1, 2, 3, and therefore maybe 4 o'clock, something like that, perhaps. But anyway, stand by your notifications, and we'll catch up with you in a little bit. Thank you for your patience, and we'll see you later. Welcome to all new members, by the way, and for all you friends out there in America, Toulouse is in France. Yeah, says the man who's got the worst geography thing in the world. Okay, okay, go for cut, GP.